in San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border.
That's the former Border Patrol chief of the San Diego sector making that stunning claim in front of Congress that the Biden administration told him to cover up the influx of migrants with links to terror organizations. Let's bring in Chad Wolf, Fox News contributor and former acting DHS secretary. Does that surprise you, Chad, that the Biden administration would tell the local Border Patrol chief there in San Diego, hey, don't talk about these, terror suspects who are walking across the border?
Well, absolutely. It does surprise me, though. We have seen this over the last 4 years. During the Trump administration, we made a concerted effort to make sure that our sector chiefs, those are 9 different chiefs overseeing different sectors along that border, that they were able to communicate directly with the American people or what was happening in their specific sector as it related to national security threats and public safety threats. There was no muzzle on them. We allowed them to do press conference. We allowed them to social media. We allowed them to do it all. And so this idea that the Biden administration is actually telling them to withhold information from the American people, and the only reason to withhold that information is to make the administration look better and to try to convince Americans that there's nothing bad happening at the border. And that is very concerning, although I guess in hindsight, not surprising.
The Republican majority on the House Homeland Security Committee just came out with a report called Crisis by Design. They're talking about the situation at the border. Since the election of Joe Biden as president, roughly 10.7 million people, or by the end of his term, roughly 12.7 million people will have come across the border illegally. That's roughly the combination of the populations of New York City and Los Angeles, the 2 most populous cities in this country. And these folks just kind of came in. We don't know who they are.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And again, that number includes known gotaways. It does not include unknown gotaways. So that number is likely much higher. And I will also tell you, over 70 years, it took the United States to process that many, right? 10 to 12 million legal aliens through Ellis Island over a period of 70 years that the Biden administration has done with illegal aliens in the course of 4 years. And so the scale and the scope of what we're talking about here really can't be emphasized enough. They have remade that border into something that this country has never experienced before. And today, you are seeing more illegal aliens cross through a port of entry or being flown in under the guise of parole than you are of Border Patrol apprehending them illegally as well. And so they continue to shift the numbers and shift the pathways to get folks into the country. It's quite amazing. It
is a huge concern among the American electorate, according to our latest Fox News poll, when asked, what motivates you to vote this election. High prices are the top issue. Immigration is number 2. 32% of Americans say it is their most important issue. That's, well, you probably wouldn't have seen that high a number 4 years ago.
Well, that's exactly right. And what that number tells me is that the American people are not falling for the lies of the Biden and Harris administration. They have spent the last 6 to 12 months trying to tell the American people that first it's Republicans that are the cause of this crisis. It's not their actions. It's not their executive orders. It's not their policies that cause this, that it's somehow Republicans in Congress that have caused this. And then they've tried to convince the American people that really nothing's going on there and there's no crisis at the border. And so what that number tells me is that the American people are a lot smarter that this administration gives them credit for, and they're not buying it, and they still have grave concerns about what's going on.
Former President Trump obviously was elected the first time around because immigration was a big issue for him, big part of his platform. He says if he's reelected, he has some plans to change the situation in this country. Listen.
Today, I'm announcing a new plan to end all sanctuary cities in North Carolina and all across our country. No more sanctuary cities.
how big a hindrance are sanctuary cities to those who are trying to enforce immigration law in this country, Chad?
Well, it's really a big issue, right? They prevent ICE or any other type of federal law enforcement to come in and to remove dangerous criminal aliens from their communities. And so with the president, I give the president a lot of credit here. This is an issue that plagues a lot of our big cities. And the only sanctuary that it provides is those criminal aliens sanctuary in those jurisdictions. And so if you remove that, then you actually are removing the worst of the worst. You're removing the murderers, the child rapists, and all the other criminal aliens from those communities. That's what the president is talking about, is let's have law enforcement work together to remove the worst of the worst, individuals that shouldn't even be here to begin with, but then when they are here, that they are committing crime after crime after crime. That's who the president wants to remove, and I think the vast majority of Americans are with him on that.
Chad Wolf, who served as acting DHS secretary in the Trump administration. Thank you, Chad.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.